I'm going to be speaking about what it's like to change from one career into cybersecurity. It'll be relevant to anybody who's not a teacher, but many of the examples I'll go over will be teaching specific, because anybody who knows me knows I speak about my old job perhaps a bit too much. It's kind of ingrained in my head. I can see some nodding from people there. So I'm going to start off with who am I actually. So I am Ewan Taylor, as introduced there. I've been a teacher for the past 5 years, and through a multitude of reasons I've decided now's the time to come into cyber. And as a little overview of what I'm doing today, I'm going to tell you why I switched. I'm going to say why teachers and other career shifters are very suitable for cybersecurity. So then this also transfers to how I think cybersecurity people should actually maybe target career changers and teachers particularly, because we've got a lot of attributes I'll go over that make us, I dare suggest, very successful. I'll be reflecting upon what first year is like studying cybersecurity, what that looks like, because for somebody who's brand new to this, no prior experience at all, it can be quite daunting. And this has been filmed as well, so that people who are considering cybersecurity, I want them to use this as a guide. So I'm going to give a little bit more insight about why I think these people should do cyber, and hopefully that makes them either decide cyber's a good place to go, or actually I'm not going to do it. So hopefully I give somebody a little bit more information. And of course, at the end, there is a chance for you to pepper me with questions or not pepper me with questions, and any ideas or suggestions for what you think I should do next. So why have I left teaching? Despite it being an extremely rewarding profession, at times it doesn't feel like a job. I have dressed up as an elephant in front of a whole school of 700 kids and been paid for it, which not many people can say that. But as I've put here, there's bigger class sizes, there's less funding, there's less staff, there's not as many training opportunities. So I wanted a change because things were not getting better. So I thought, still at a relatively young age, I'm going to go for a bit of a change into cybersecurity. And yeah, balancing the needs of 33 people is really tricky. Balancing 33 adults is tricky. If you are a parent, if you have a nephew, a niece, or a younger brother or sister, sometimes just managing one person's difficult. So 33 is almost an apocalypse-like scenario. So I am by no means alone in this. In Scotland loses a lot of its teachers, as does England, that we'll go over in the next slide as well. So I am one of the 33% of people that leave after 5 years, exactly the amount of time that I was in there for teaching, and within 2 years as well, it's about 20% of people that leave after 2 years. Within Scotland as well, we see here that from 4 to 6% roughly are the amount of teachers that leave every year. There's no statistics further than 2020 because COVID has skewed it quite a lot, because a lot of people have come back into the profession. So there's a lot of potential people for cybersecurity to employ here. You think if this is happening absolutely every single year, but also many people who enter teaching are entering from another profession as well, especially if they've done the PGDE route. So that's when you can do a 1 year course that fast tracks you to becoming a teacher. But to do that, you need a degree in something else. So not only are you getting a teacher in that scenario, you're getting somebody like myself that's got experience of doing another degree and another whole skill set along with that. So here's the statistic for England as well. 20% leave within 2 years. They lose just under, or roughly 10% of their teachers a year. I couldn't find any statistics closer than 2018, but if you just look at Michael Gove, who's getting a knighthood, he's becoming a sir today for doing a less than good job, some people would say, that the picture's not getting any better. So I can't see these statistics changing radically. So why have I chosen cybersecurity? It's an industry where your interests can go anywhere. It's a wide-ranging field, which is both a benefit and kind of a curse as well. Because when we're speaking to people today and they ask you, what are you interested in? Everything's not always the greatest answer. You want to find a niche, but at the start, everything is fascinating. It's flexible work. I can work in different places around the world. I can have different types of jobs with my skill set. Whereas if you're a teacher, you are a teacher. There's no getting around it there. You can maybe teach in one school or another school, but within cybersecurity, there's a whole host of roles that through university you can be prepared to go into. And as I put here as well at the bottom, I can transfer my skills that I've used there, which I feel is very critical, because otherwise people aren't going to want teachers if we can't transfer our skills. So, what do I have to offer? What do career changers have to offer? What do teachers have to offer? Now this feels very strange because I'm going to be bigging up myself here a lot, and as Brits, we absolutely detest doing that. Okay, we hate selling ourselves. But here is why I think teachers and myself are very good within cybersecurity. We are very good at collaborating. We have to work alongside social workers, parents, children themselves, our management team to ensure we get the best outcomes for every single child that we teach. It's perhaps the easiest to work alongside children and have a good partnership than it can be with the other ones there. We're not able to get away with mistakes because kids are brutal. Kids do not let you away with a single mistake. They point everything out. I've had primary 1 kids, and the first thing they come up and say to you is, Mr. Taylor, you're bald. Straight away. No messing, no nothing. So, and it's the same with computing. If you go on and you're doing anything within cybersecurity, one mistake is critical. One mistake can be a security flaw. One mistake can be a compiler telling you, no, not happening, which is incredibly frustrating. We've got good attention to detail. We proofread all the time. We're constantly scanning rooms. We're trying to see who's going to be misbehaving. We're seeing who's flaring up there. We're constantly checking and scanning. But we're also looking at kids' work all the time. We're used to finding mistakes, spotting them, and correcting them, which is a very important skill within cybersecurity as well. We have to be adaptable too. We're not allowed to just say, well, this worked last time, we're going to keep doing it, because children change, computing changes at a rapid pace, so we have to just, basically we go along the lines of what we know now may never be good next week, might not even be good in a month's time. We're constantly thinking we have to change, because it could be you turn up to work one day, 5 people are off, everything you do has to change. And when you're working in a school environment, the kids don't care if people are off. You have to just, on the fly, adapt a lesson for something else. If you're outside doing PE and suddenly it starts thundering down with rain, you've got to make a change there and then, which can be tricky, but it is necessary and it's a good skill to have coming into cybersecurity. We also, maybe not the most glamorous side of the industry, we write loads of reports. Those skills will be still well used within cybersecurity. We maybe don't always necessarily enjoy doing them, but it's something that's ingrained and we're experienced at. We have communication skills as well. We need to break down complicated concepts and simplify them so that children can understand. Sometimes we need to simplify them so parents can understand. We have to sometimes justify what we do in the classroom to tell social workers, this is why this child needs extra support for such and such. So what we communicate is of the utmost importance. And then that ties into this part here, working with sensitive data. Children's data is absolutely fundamentally important. We can't compromise that. We're trusted with facts about families, facts about children themselves that we have to keep secret. We are sworn to do so when we graduate as teachers as part of our professional code of conduct. So we bring that experience to cybersecurity. We can say, well, actually, I've worked with private and sensitive data and I've been trusted with it. And we are ever so slightly control freaks. We are very organised, which is brilliant, but also maybe frustrating for other people that have to live with teachers or work alongside them, because we love organisation. We hated it at the start when we go into teaching, but we realise the advantages it brings and it becomes ingrained into you. Anybody that's seen me on my course, it's ridiculous the level I schedule things and organise things, but these are skills that we bring that are naturally set in our brains now. And we have patience, and we've got it in abundance. You can't be a teacher if you're not patient. I dare suggest you can't work in cybersecurity if you're not patient. Things will go wrong, things will take ages to load, things will break, and you just sometimes have to grit through it just with a bit of patience. There's no other way of putting it sometimes. So what has it been like going into a new industry? And it has been very, very difficult, okay? We come from an industry where we were skilled at something and then to find new things all the time in cybersecurity that are difficult to master and pick up can be really frustrating. So it's not the case that you can get away with a little mistake either. It's brutal. If you try to build something that we've been doing using C++, one error doesn't work, or one error and it doesn't work properly, which can be even more frustrating. So coming from expertise down to that level can be frustrating initially. We also, if you're not within a computing field, I'm sure everybody in this room has been told this. Oh, you're good with computers. See Ewan. Oh, he's brilliant with computers. He'll fix that. You become, in another industry, being skilled at computers is totally different to when you're here and you're told, actually, I've got so much to learn. I am way behind what the industry needs right now. So that's what I realized very quickly within cybersecurity, is that you're told by family and by ex-colleagues, you're really good at computing, or you'd be brilliant on a cybersecurity course. Not so much the case there. Other people's expertise your expertise are not exactly accurate. So what have I been studying so far? Apologies if you are an Abertay student, especially if you're in first year, because this is just reminding you of everything you've probably still got to study or do right now. But here are a whole host of concepts that if you are thinking of studying cybersecurity, you're going to encounter. This also will apply to ethical hacking as well, because in Abertay Uni, in first year, our courses are identical for the first year, because we have to build up our foundational knowledge of how computing security works, how networks function, and how to program, how to develop basic concepts at the start in programs, but it will quickly scale up. But we can't run before we can walk. Now, if you are brand new to cybersecurity, that is tricky, as I've put at the bottom here. There's lots of jargon to get to grips with. If you are coming from it straight out of school, it may be easier because you may have done computing science at higher or advanced higher. You might be coming from college where you have that extra advantage. But I'm speaking as somebody who is coming in cold with no prior experience. I had never coded a day in my life before I started. So the first thing I ever coded was, on the first day at uni, hello world. That was how basic I was at the start. So here is a flavour of what some of the jargon that I've encountered. And I've put on the right-hand side what this is like for me. So you might be looking at it as experts or close to experts going, I know what everything on the left stands for, but what that looked like to me at the start is what the picture to the right-hand side looks like. I've also, while I speak a little bit, there'll be a bonus point if you can work out the language that this is written in and the book that it's from. There is one big kind of hint there, but this is what it is like when we start brand new. We pick out little bits that we can recognise, but it's a lot of it is just gobbledygook at the start. And because you can maybe get portions of it, you think, yes, but it can be so frustrating because you want to just get head in straight. You want to go as deep as you can straight away and start running with it, but you can't. It's so frustrating. Out of interest, is there anybody who's worked out the language this book's in? Or is there anybody who maybe guessed the book that it is? It's Scandinavian's close. Do I have any advance on Scandinavian? Okay, I can reveal to you it is in Icelandic, and it is actually The Godfather. And there is, I think on the third line in italics, it says Don Corleone, which is probably the biggest hint that there was. But if you're looking at that, and I know that it's probably hard to see properly from where you are, but that is what it is like when you're coming brand new into cybersecurity going, wow, it's just a complete different language. And that's before you even get to the multitude of languages that people have different opinions on whether you should learn it first or second or whenever. So the challenges are that something you learn in one bit often ties in with another area of cybersecurity. So if you don't get one thing, it can be really frustrating because when you're coming into as a career changer, you want to make sure you're making a success of it. So there is such an easy temptation just to run straight away with it and jump ahead. But you have to slow down and make sure that you're understanding everything. Otherwise, you do get overwhelmed. There are many times where you sit down and you think, I can't do this. But actually, if you break it down, you slowly will be able to do some of it, then most of it, then hopefully all of it. And I've said this several times before, it's frustrating when you come in it from a skilled viewpoint as well, because I'm thinking, nobody else in this class would be able to teach 33 kids and manage all of them for a whole year. but here I am struggling how to code this because I've not put a semicolon at the end. It can be so frustrating for that reverse. So my advice is for people who are doing cybersecurity is be aware that this will happen, but kind of embrace it. And there's been something I do later on that people in my course will be able to vouch for 1,000,000% that shows how I've managed to navigate this struggle. And as well, you will be told, when I've looked at any cybersecurity courses, they'll say experience isn't needed, not required. So you start to think, all right, this might be quite easy then, but that is by no means the case. It's what you learn within cybersecurity. Other industries I've been in, be it retail, be it musical work, be it a teacher, these skills are completely alien. They're brilliant skills to have within coding, programming, debugging, networking skills, but you don't use them anywhere else. They are so specific to this industry that you can't pick them up otherwise. I'm trying to think what I've put here. It's not the action thriller that many people might think this job is. I'm not on a movie set, basically destroying Russia's whole attack on Ukraine by being some magical cybersecurity person. No, it's about me spending hours with Visual Studio, hating a compiler, then loving it when it works, then absolutely hating it again, and then getting used to one feature within C++, and then your lecturer says, oh, go and do this. And then suddenly you're right back to the bottom again. So yeah, by no means is it the glamorous profession, but it is still absolutely fascinating, and there are so many opportunities that your interests, there will be a role within cybersecurity for something you're interested in. That could be football, it could be politics, it could be something to do with the military. There's so many different avenues you can go down. So what have I done to navigate these challenges? These are the steps I would recommend anybody to take if they are studying cybersecurity. The first one, as people in my course will be able to vouch for, I ask so many questions, it is ridiculous. Teachers all love the sound of their own voice, as you can all tell by me doing a speech right now, but we ask loads of questions. We want kids to ask questions. Now I'm in the scenario to absolutely frustrate my lecturers with the amount of questions I ask, but they've only got another 3.5 years left, so that'll be nice. Practice. I learn through iteration. It's the most frustrating way to learn. I think it's probably the best way to learn. It's about sitting down, trying to work something out, finding error messages, Googling what the error messages actually mean, then getting really confused because in Stack Overflow it makes no sense sometimes why an error message happened, and then going back and then just working it out very minutiae, tiny bit by bit. But as one lecturer says here, it's good for the soul to do it this way. So my soul must be feeling really good right now. I've created a blog, so I've been documenting what it's like being a student third time round, being a student when you are almost 30, how that differs to being a student when you're in your late teens or your early 20s. And that's where I'll be uploading computing-based lesson plans for primary school teachers, because I know that primary school teachers have no free time. So if I can at least give them lesson plans they can just pick up and use straight away, that'll hopefully have a good impact for some children in Scotland. And I've also joined the Hacking Society. Through the Hacking Society, I was able to speak today, but I can't recommend highly enough getting a group of like-minded people who you can ask for help or who you can work alongside to learn things from. I would say preferably in person. Online forums can be brilliant, but I've found them that they don't fully understand where you are if you are a beginner, and it can become really daunting for you. But if it's in person, I feel like it's more efficacious, if that's the best word to use there. It gives you a more beneficial result. So I can't recommend highly enough having a community of people that you trust to be able to say, I'm really not getting this, or I have a big interest in doing this, but I don't even know where to get started. Would you be able to help me get started? Would you know for who I can speak to? Is this even a good idea? Is this feasible? Because sometimes we have ideas as first year students that are actually, they're not even worth getting started yet. So I want to give you a flavour of what it's like entering a profession with loads of acronyms, okay? Now these are all acronyms I use in my old job. So I do know them all, but I want to see how many you get. Some will be guessable, but some may be complete gobbledygook. So I'll put it up there for about a minute or so. So I have here 32 different acronyms. Some may make sense. The answers are all on the next slide as well. I'm not just going to leave you on a big cliffhanger. That would be horrible. But these are all things I use every day. And it's by no means a slight on cybersecurity, but when you are in a profession and you are working with people in that profession, you begin to talk in acronyms, you begin to shorten things, you have an assumed level of knowledge because that is generally what happens. But when you are new into a new field and you hear everybody speaking this language, it's a bit scary. So, does anybody think they could name 10 or more of these? No, what about 5? I think that there's some there I definitely think would be guessable that you've seen, but I'll put you out your misery. Okay, if you can see that hopefully there. But these are all from my time in teaching. I've had to use every acronym on here, whether it has been on reports, whether it's been social work, whether it's just been in general. Some are perhaps more serious than others. Some are completely more gobbledygook than others. But I'm sure some people may have heard of ADHD and ADD. They're probably more well known there. But when it comes to SHINARI, which is, of course, safe, healthy, achieving, nurturing, got to get this right, respected, responsible, and included, that was a school-specific one to where I was last time. So I'll make sure that person gets a lovely photo there. That is my talk there. Now, if anybody has any questions, feel free, but maybe more importantly, what advice or suggestions would you have for somebody starting off to make sure that their studies are as successful as possible? So I will leave the floor open to all of you there. There's my Twitter and blog. If you'd like to follow them, you can. You're more than welcome. Are there any questions, suggestions, or advice? I will take that as we're all really hungry, Ewan, and can we all go for lunch now? So thank you all very much for coming, and yeah, thank you very much.